Today marks 25 years since Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman were murdered. O.J. Simpson acquitted in the trial of the century. We're going to speak with Kim and Fred Goldman, Ron's sister and father, in just a moment. But first, Amy is here with more. Good morning, Amy.
Yeah, good morning, guys. We all know this case was a watershed moment for our culture. People can tell you where they were as they watched that slow speed chase. They can tell you where they were when the verdict was announced. And all these years later, Kim Goldman is now confronting O.J. Simpson. It's been more than 2 decades since the trial of the century captivated the nation.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Football and movie star O.J. Simpson, fighting for his freedom, accused of brutally killing his ex-wife Nicole Brown and her friend Ron Goldman.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder.
In a verdict that divided the nation, Simpson found not guilty. The Goldmans left shell-shocked. Now, 25 years after the murders, Simpson says he and his children are moving on. The now 71-year-old, who was released from a Nevada prison in 2017 after spending 9 years behind bars for unrelated charges of robbery and kidnapping, seen in these newly released photos taken last week at his Las Vegas home, posing in his office and yard. The Hall of Famer says he is happy, healthy, and spends his days playing golf, telling the Associated Press, "We don't need to go back and relive the worst day of our lives. The subject of the moment is the subject I will never revisit again. My family and I have moved on to what we call the no negative zone. We focus on the positives." But the Goldmans keeping the focus on the family member they lost.
This is Confronting O.J. Simpson. I'm your host, Kim Goldman.
In a new podcast, Ron's sister Kim revisiting the trial, interviewing everyone from investigators to members of the jury to star witness Kato Kalin, who was living in a bungalow on Simpson's property at the time of the murders.
Did you ever talk to Simpson after the murders?
O.J. pulled me into the kitchen by myself and said, "You know I was here with you." And I said, "No, I don't." He just kind of shook it off. And then I was like, is he trying to use me for something that I think he could have done?
Now, in 1997, you may remember, a civil jury found Simpson liable for wrongful death. He was ordered to pay millions of dollars to the families of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman, but most of that has gone unpaid, Robin.
That's right, Amy. Thank you. And joining us now are Kim and Fred Goldman. Thank you both very much. Kim, I know normally today you honor your brother in private, but you have decided to speak out. Why?
This year has been about confronting, the name of my show, so I figured why not? Why not just do it all in one foul swoop? But I really wanted to just kind of face some of my fears, face some of my anxiety. I know that I can handle it. I have a great support system, but I just wanted to go full force this year, so this is how I started. And
every day is painful. You don't need a day to mark that, but what are your emotions, especially today, Fred?
I think what happens is that they just become more intense. You're exactly right. It never goes away. It's always there. The pain is always there. The loss is always there. Today is just that much more intense. It's hard for me to imagine that it's 25 years. Ron would be 50 now. And I have a hard time recognizing or reckoning that whole idea.
Remind people of the closeness, the family dynamics that you all share, Kim.
My dad does never let me say thank you to him for doing such a good job with my brother and I. He raised us as a single parent when my brother and I were 3.5 and 6. And I don't know how you did that, but you created such a close-knit relationship for all of us with a lot of trust and love and dedication. And I think your
brother was very protective of you, wasn't he?
Yeah, I was raised by 2 great men, my dad and my brother. My brother took really good care of me, always making sure that I was taken care of and protected and following along, making sure I was never alone, but looked out for me from every moment.
Yeah, every picture, every memory I have of the 2 of them as together, Ron holding Kim's hand, always there to be there for her, protect her. If she had some issue, Ron was always going to jump in and take care of it. There was one time where Kim had some issue on the school bus, and Ron jumped in. He was there the next day to give the kid a little knowledge that he better not do it again.
Do that. Confronting OJ, your podcast, which is coming out. You talked to the major players in the case. You went right to them to interview them. What were you hoping to accomplish with this, and why did you decide to do it?
I think for all these years it's been a little frustrating that there's been so much about this case that is made, all the television series and the fictional approaches, that I thought it was important to go right to the source. These are people that lived a very similar lifestyle that my dad and I did in very different directions, and I wanted to understand how they were doing, what they were thinking, how they've lived their life, how they've functioned in the aftermath of all of it, and I wanted to go right to the source. So I went to Marcia Clark and Chris Darden, Bill Hodgman, Cato Kalin, some of the jurors.
And when you talked to some of the jurors, they had something interesting to say about deliberations.
Yeah, they corroborated what my dad and I always thought, which was that they didn't do their job. They pulled testimony just to cover up that they already knew what their answer was when they went into that jury room, and they wasted our time for 3.5 hours making up just fake deliberations so that they could look better.
Pretend like they were doing their job.
But they had said that the jurors you spoke to said that they had made up their mind before.
Their mind was made up, and that the 3.5 hours was a cover-up.
You talk about so much in your podcast. You really go there, Kim. And when you talk about O.J. Simpson and about how you tried to meet him when he was in prison, and that you had a chance meeting with him in a parking lot.
Yeah, it was a couple years after the verdict. I saw him walking across the parking lots, or what I believed was him. I was by myself in my car, and I saw that gate, that natural gate that I've been following for so many years. And I revved the engine, and I gripped the steering wheel thinking I could take him out right here, nobody would know. But
that's not you.
No, and I would never do that to my dad, but that's not me, you're right. It was just a fleeting moment, but it happened for sure.
I can't get past something that you said moments ago, Fred, that your son was 25 years old when this happened, and it's 25 years later. And we appreciate how over the years that you've come here and that you've shared your story in hopes of finding hope for others. And we appreciate that very much.
Right.
Thank you. We've been lucky.
I think it's important for everyone to always remember victims like Ron, like Nicole, because that kind of thing happens every day. And we all see it in the news, the violence of mass shootings, etc. And it happens every day, and those families have the same pain that we've gone through and will go through for years to come. We can't ignore that. It's way too important, way too important.
It is, as is this day. Fred, Kim,
Thanks,
thank you
Robin.
very much. Confronting OJ, the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.